Hello.
Hi, this is Janet Loren calling.
Hi, Janet. I'm just running a little late today. How are you?
I'm doing very well. How are you, Jean?
Fine, sweetheart. I'm talking to Janet Loren here, who is uh I call her the certified educational planner, and she is that because I had her especially today to come to address us for the simple reason I thought it was somewhat timely. I every day and every hour in the autumn, in the late summer, one always hears, "What should I do? Where should I go? My kid is going to college. My kid is getting ready to do this. My son wants to go here, but I don't want him to go there." And or my daughter didn't get accepted here because she forgot to do this and forgot to do that. So I thought this would be a very timely part of the year for Janet Loren to come on and start to talk about it. And your last name is partner, right?
Right. My
Yes,
my last name is Loren, and
yes,
I work with two gentlemen. I know you had my partner on, Stephen Surratt, last week,
yes,
and David Slater. They're my partners.
yes.
And we have a company called CBRG, College Benefits Research Group.
Well, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I've been working. I was a teacher. I've been teaching and advising high school and college students on their school selection and admissions process and career options for over 15 years.
Mm.
And along with working with my private clients, I also offer seminars in college admissions, managing applications, college essay writing, financial aid, and interview skills. And I visit colleges all year long. I try to visit almost 50 colleges a year. I talk with admissions officers. And in doing that, I get inside information. I get information about the cultures of the campuses, what the colleges are looking for, and what they're looking for in their candidates, so that I can bring that back and really talk to students about that.
Well,
So,
I've often said that, I went to Howard University, which is a predominantly black school. And but prior to that, I went to the High School of Performing Arts, which was a
oh,
predominantly white school. And
you're a PA graduate.
yes,
Wonderful.
yes, I'm a PA. In fact, I know you know it when you call it PA because very few people do that unless they've attended. Yeah.
Yes, I do.
You,
I do. You're
and
an artist, and
yes. And so what happened, I remember when I graduated, many of us had the opportunity to go to Juilliard
mhm,
or Bennington,
mhm.
what have you. And to get to the end of the story, I chose Howard. And I'm being very honest to all my listeners. I really did exceptionally well at Howard, but I would have done so much better if I had gone to Juilliard. And the reason I went to Howard was because I just felt I'd feel much more comfortable amongst my own people.
Mhm.
And I did it for that reason alone. And I don't think that's enough. That is enough because while I was at Performing Arts, I felt very comfortable among the people who were in my field, which was the dance world.
Mhm.
So, I mean, a college is a very, very important. Picking and choosing a college, one must think of a lot of things. And I used to be really not outside of the people at Howard University because I made myself become a part of them. But I was an outsider because not that they weren't creative, not that there weren't any dancers there, not that they didn't appreciate what I did. They just were thought in a different way. They just walked in a different way. They talked in a different way. They were different, and so were the teachers.
That's absolutely, true. Each school has its own culture. You
Mm,
and I have a lot in common because I was a former dancer,
okay,
and I went to Purchase, and then I went to Bennington,
okay.
and so that I do have a lot of artists that I work with, whether they're in music or dance or acting or directing or film and again, whether they're in the arts or they're my engineers or they're into zoology, or the culture of the school is so important for student success. Students don't transfer because of the academics. They transfer because of the social fit.
Yes. Yes.
And that's very important. So along with the academic fit and the social fit, our company also works on the financial fit, as you heard from Stephen
Yes,
last
I heard
week.
from Stephen.
But that's what I work on, finding that fit, that social place where that student feels comfortable, where they feel like they belong.
Yes. And I don't want to belabor it, but it's so easy to not feel you belong. It's just so you take the arts. I was used to dancing, of course, and when I came out of high school, I got an opportunity to dance in several nightclubs, community nightclubs, Atlantic City nightclubs, before I entered into Howard University. And once I got there, what was so unbelievable is that everybody in the freshman class had to be in the dorm at 7 o'clock. I was like, 7 o'clock? What do you mean, in the morning? I mean, here I was dancing in nightclubs. You didn't get through work until 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and it was just such a weird kind of scene for me. I had such an adjustment that I finally, and I'll be very honest with you, I had to go talk to counselors because they were trying to keep me there and they wanted me to stay, but they understood why I was having trouble. So picking a school is very, very, very important.
I agree. And again, people, the whole world of college admissions has changed so much in the last few years because, most of my parents, when they come in, they say, we applied to a school, we applied to 3-4 schools, we got in, we went. That's not our environment right now. That's not what's happening now. Schools are, there's different applications. There's schools are marketing to different students. The rankings have a tremendous effect on how people see schools. Schools are spending money on things like athletic facilities and cafeterias and the way they look, as opposed to what the educational environment was, who those professors are, who they're working with. So the world has changed. So we really believe in an educated consumer. It's a lot of money to go to college today. Make sure that you really investigate each school, and will it work for you? Will it work for each student?
Well, I think you hit on a really important part there because schools cost a lot, which I got into with your friend last week. And because they cost so much, I mean, years ago when I went to school, the tuitions were nothing like they are now.
Oh.
And I almost feel, and and maybe I'm the wrong person to talk to. It's almost like saying, if I was anybody that really could find a trade or something that I could do without going to college, I would do it. Because everybody's not going to college is going to get you. By the time you get out, you've paid for the rest of your life. You're paying the same. You're paying money. I mean, you're not getting anything out of it. You're just going somewhere to dig up a bill, and then finally have to pay the bill back for the rest of your life. I mean, it's gotten to be that college is a joke. And I mean that sincerely. Unless you're going to come out and work for Goldman Sachs or Wallen or one of those big companies, or rip people off, in medicine or whatever they're doing now, and they're doing that. And I know why they're doing it. They're trying to get their money back
Oh,
from schools. And as a poor person coming out being a social worker, that's a joke. You be a social worker, you'll never pay them back. And I'm not trying to talk against college. If anybody needs college, or an after school or trade, it's black people and people of color. But this become a ripoff.
well, one of the things you should know is that there are many, many schools in this country. There are almost 4,000 schools, and they
Uh-huh.
all have happy students. We hear about the top 100, and you got to get into that, or you're not going to get it. That is not true.
Mm-hmm.
And there are students graduating from all kinds of schools that you haven't heard of that are getting wonderful jobs. So again, that fit is so important, that academic fit about being a big fish in a small pond. And what that allows you to do is, if you position yourself at a school, the tuition lowers because that school wants you to be there. So they're going to give you money to come to that school. I have wonderful students, top students that could go to very selective schools, that go to schools for free. They do their undergraduate for free, and then they go to a top school for their graduate school because they
Smart.
then
It's a
have the
smart
money to
move.
go.
It's a smart move.
So it's, there are schools that you are going to pay full ride for. But is that necessarily the better school to go to? Not necessarily. I have a wonderful student who was top in her class, valedictorian, wanted to go into engineering. And she looked at all the standard engineering schools, and she got into all of those. And she ended up going to this very small school in Pennsylvania, tiny little school, where she was the star. The star. They gave her a full ride to come. She took her engineering. Where did she do her internships? That school made sure that she got her internships at the best places. Why? It makes the school look good. So where did she do her internship? She did them at Cornell. Where is she now going to her graduate school to get her master's? She's going to UPenn. She paid nothing for her undergraduate education.
Where'd she go to undergrad?
She went to a little school in Pennsylvania called Wilkes.
Okay. No, I mean, I want you to say something like this. I used to be a person from the Board of Ed who would go and give these speeches at the assembly programs. And I was from the Division of Career Ed. And I used to get up and I used to tell the kids, and who are you here is going to college? And every kid would raise their hand, because that's the thing to say and to do. And I would say you're not going to college, and don't even say it. Some of you will not go to college because some of you don't want to go to college. Some of you can't go to college, and some of you can't afford to go to college. And I said, but you can do other things. And I say to you that this conversation we're having now is so important because, after the Cosby Show and many of those things, a lot of black people went to college, and it was such a wonderful gesture. It was it was like a shot in the arm for our race. And then after a while, people started just going to college because they thought that was the thing to do. And I'll tell you something: if you were a plumber or a air conditioner guy or a car mechanic, sometimes you can make more money.
That's very true. And college isn't necessarily for everyone.
No.
But I like to say that there's learning for everyone. There's education
Yes.
for everyone.
Yes.
And whether that education is in a community college, or if that education is in a tech school, or if that education is in higher education, we have to be lifelong learners.
Mm-hmm.
And in doing that, we grow, we expand, we become more, and that allows us to do lots of different things.
Right.
To think critically, to think strategically, to one of the research that I just recently read is how many times we change careers throughout our lives.
Yes.
And being able to continually learn, being able to continually grow, that's going to allow us to make those changes as we need them.
Mm-hmm.
So
You know
again,
what?
that's something you learn in college or
And
in school or taking that step.
well, as you and I seemingly have the same background, here we are,
Hmm.
and here you are, the disseminator, a spokesperson for the for information that can lead to higher ed, and here I am, a disseminator of the same sort of kind of uh, embracement
Hmm.
and subject matter, and meanwhile we're both dancers.
Hmm.
And that is a change of career. You know, we're no longer on our toes, or we're no longer spinning on the ball of our feet. You know, I think that people have to remember that when they're going to college too, is that what you go for doesn't necessarily mean what you're going to end up doing.
That is so true, and particularly in today's world. We don't know what the careers will be in 5 years and 6 years. Some of them change constantly.
Hmm.
You know, my husband went to school for typography. That no longer exists. That
Yeah.
career. So you look at what's happening today, and if students can go to college um, with a focus to understand, to again learn strategically, to get a global perspective, to understand what's happening in the world, to keep their minds open, but to definitely have a focus on what they'd like to do. I tell students, I say, look, if you don't know what you want to do, I want you to think about two things. One, what are your strengths? What do you do well? And the second one is, what do you love? Because if you follow your strengths and you follow what you love, you will eventually get to a career that you enjoy doing.
Well, you got a good point. Yes, and you know, the thing that I hear you. I mean, it's Janet, Loren. I hear you here, but you know, where are you? I mean, I don't know where people like you are. I mean, when we think of the kids and the amount of people who want to go to college, how few organizations of your sort are around to even encompass the amount of people who need your help.
Well, there are a lot of groups that help, and I have to say that school guidance counselors are a wonderful, wonderful resource in every school. And those school guidance counselors, I know a lot of them have heavy course loads and heavy loads of a lot of students. I mean, the average in this country is about 460 something to one. So, and in some states it's much higher, but they are an amazing resource. So, and they love it when a student comes in and says, "I'm interested in college," or "I'm interested in, the community college. I have something I want to do," or I want to learn more." So they're interested in that. There are private guidance counselors around, and there are some wonderful non-for-profits that help. There are wonderful organizations, NACAC and New Jersey ACAC and New York ACAC.
Mm-hmm.
These are admissions, college admissions, organizations. There's the Independent Educational Consulting Association, IECA. those are wonderful organizations that really do help students to determine that and to help them with this process. CBRG is unique in that we not only work with the student on my side, but we work with the parents to help them understand the financial aid process, because that is a whole other part that gets confusing.
You know, I just want to ask one question because I think you brought up when you say parents. I mean, so many kids come home, and especially to parents who did not go to college, and there's a lot of them.
Hmm.
And they say, "Mom, I'm going to go to college." Well, the mother gets so excited. She's so happy that she's brought her youngster, young love of her life, her daughter or her son, along the path to finally be ready to enter into the real world of education. And she's like almost dumbfounded, and she becomes dumb. She does not know. She's ignorant as to what are the for, and she allows herself in many cases to sign uh, uh, up for the board of ed, for sign up for courses. I remember one I read, and I don't know whether this is true or not, so I'm not going to say like I know the guy, but he's got his parents to sign up for him to go to school, and they took out a loan,
Hmm.
and then and at the end of the years or whatever the years was going, uh, something happened to him, and then they were still responsible, and then something happened to him, and then the other one was responsible. I mean, in other words, you know, usually when you die, people take the debt away. When you get school debt, it is never taken away. Is that true?
Um, uh, I think there are forgiveness loans, and you have to apply for that.
Forgiveness.
Uh, yes. So
I mean, I'm not
but
laughing at you because this is, you're giving out the information, and I want to know. You know, I
okay.
mean, so it's not the joke is not on you, sweetheart. You are the messenger, and thank God there's a person like you. What would we do if we didn't even know what was going on? So there's a forgiveness loan.
Yes, certain school loans do have forgiveness, and there are certain
And
qualifications for that.
what are
So,
some of the things that you have to be forgiven?
actually, I would have to look at that material to make sure, but that's I'm sure Stephen and David would know more about those.
I know. I'm sorry.
But
I don't want to do this
but
to you,
there are. I know that they
Janet.
are,
Yeah.
and there are all kinds of student loan. For instance, you can work with your student loan, and if you're not making money at this time, you can take, a hiatus from paying if you can't pay at this time, and things like that. There are all kinds
But
of
you know what,
ways
Janice,
to get
and then
loans.
and Janet, what? I mean, I'm sorry. I'm giving you a hard time because you don't deserve it. You're only on the other end. But what happened that they did this to the world? That they stopped education being something that we could enjoy going to, and wound up at the end. My father was a poor man. He worked in the transit, and he used to work at night cleaning offices to send me through college. And
Hmm.
I came out of college and I didn't owe a dime. I mean, what happened to those days?
We live in a different world,
Yes, we do, Janet.
and that's
And then you
the
didn't make it, and
but
you didn't
but the
make it.
thing to
I'm not
remember here is
blaming you.
the thing to remember here is that there are opportunities. There are financial opportunities for someone who really wants to go to college.
Yes,
There are financial
I believe
opportunities.
that. I believe that, and I'm not being that jaded. No, I believe that. But I just believe that, I remember the day was, I was like, you know what, I think I'll go to college. I think, I would like to teach school, and maybe and they would go get in school and take courses, and next thing you know, they take the exam, and next thing you know, they were a teacher, and they
Hmm.
didn't owe $100,000 to nobody, you know.
Well, there are wonderful schools, including the CUNYs, the City Universities of New York, which is
Which is
fabulous
where I'm
school.
sitting. I'm sitting right in it.
They are an
It's
amazing opportunity,
Yes, right here at City College.
and
Yes.
they are not only financially, but wonderful, wonderful education institutions, educational institutions. They are wonderful. The SUNYs are wonderful. Some states are doing some wonderful work where a student gets a B or above in their high school career. They get to go to school for free. So there are programs and ways of doing this that I think students we're seeing some colleges are really reducing their price. Not many, but there are some that are really looking at how to do that. I think that you're going to see that more and more colleges are going to be either offering more money to reduce that cost, or being more cost conscious about being able to have students. As our demographic in our country changes, and our more students are coming that are of color,
Yes.
that's where our demographic is going, and these schools have to adjust.
Yes.
They have to adjust, and they're going to have to bring those costs down so that they can have students, or they're going to just have to close.
They're
So
gonna have to close. Well, you
that's
know
going to
what?
happen.
I just want to say this to you, and because Janet, thank you so much for this. By the way, Janet Loren, I'm speaking to, who is the educational planner for college, and its benefits and its good. But one of the things, and I want to close on this note. You're doing college, and that's like the last school you go to. Well, now they need somebody to start doing for elementary and kindergarten, because you know what they're doing? They're now charging $42,000 for kindergarten in these private schools in New York City. And you know how come I know? Because I have a grandchild, and he's 7 years old. And I thought, I mean, I think it's a joke. It's a joke. And you know what? If you don't get in, I've seen parents come there who have so much money, they just plop down 42, 43, 40. And if you don't get into there, then you get a bad education. Then you don't get an education. Then you can't compete. So it's between you and and not such a good. They put you in a very bad place.
Well,
And
college is what you make of it, each student. It's not the college that makes the student. It's the student that makes the college. So it's not as important the name. What is
I
important is
agree
that
with
that
you.
student does well.
But you know what's also important, Janet, is that in that school, and this is nothing to do with you, so please don't think I'm beating up on you. You didn't make the curriculum. It's what you give them that they go. What kind of suitcase of education do you let them travel with for the rest of their lives? And that's what's necessary. And
Hmm.
I thought we would be a short interview, but we want to be in good only because
This is wonderful, Jean. Thank you so very, very much.
I know you've been so patient with me. Thank
I've had
you.
a very good time. It was a wonderful discussion. Thank you so very much.
And as they say, we have more in common than anyone could imagine. Because anytime anybody went to the Performing Arts PA, they're my friend. Okay, all
Enjoy your
right.
day.
You too, Janet. Bye bye, Janet Loren.
Bye
Bye.
bye.
That was fun. That was really fun.